So nice to see so many of you here. We're here to discuss this feasibility study on a grain transport system for Ukraine, which we're very excited about and looking forward to your proposals on feasibility studies in this regard. So what we're going to talk about today, we're going to do a call overview, followed by proposal submission, proposal selection, and then a Q&A, so we can hopefully answer some of your questions. During the webinar, as I said, we're recording. Please mute your microphones unless you're speaking. Please add your comments to the chat during the presentation as questions arise. And then at the end, we'll discuss those Q&As and hopefully get your answers to the questions that you have. Okay, so the call overview. Just a word about EIT food. I'm not sure how familiar all of you on the call are with EIT food, or if you've worked with us before, but we work to accelerate innovation to build a future fit food system that produces healthy and sustainable food for all. EIT Food is a European nonprofit organization co-funded by the EU, and we bring together in a large ecosystem, organizations from industry, research institutions, universities, startups, and foundations. And our aim is accelerating the innovation process and transforming the agri-food system. So one of the exciting opportunities that we have is to help the Ukrainian government with a feasibility study on an alternate grain transport system for Ukraine. The call is to address a critical issue that we're all aware of, which is the impact on the Russian invasion has had on grain exports from Ukraine. The Ukrainian Ministry of Agriculture asked us to facilitate and to seek proposals for feasibility studies for alternative ways to export large quantities of grain, including an overland pipeline. This is to mitigate their dependency on export by sea, which we've seen has been very difficult, and it's an ongoing problem. To support the initiative, we're calling for a feasibility study proposals from you for a functional and rapidly deployable grain transport system. If your feasibility study indicates a viable solution, your consortium may be chosen by the Ukrainian Ministry of Agriculture to submit a full work plan for continuation of your feasibility study into a real project. So the deliverables, there's a deliverable, it's a feasibility study, and it must be submitted by 30 April 2023. It should describe the options that you explore and clearly address the design, build, usage, and maintenance challenges of the options. The study should clearly state whether the options evaluated could be implemented, outline the expected costs and how these compare to other options, and the likely time frame for implementation. You also may choose to deliver a prototype or a demonstration with your feasibility study, but the deadline remains the same. The format of the feasibility study is up to you. It should follow best practices, show the methodology you followed and the research undertaken, cover design, economic analysis, safety, and the geopolitical, environmental, and social elements that would affect the project. And finally, it should present the Ministry of Agriculture with a clear analysis with which they can then decide how to progress with an implementation plan. So these are pretty technical, these criteria that were given to us directly by the Ukrainian government. You'll find these in the guidelines, which, as I said, will be available this afternoon on the website when we launch. But as not an expert in the field, I will leave it to you to go over these with a fine-tooth comb. And I won't just read them off the page, but these are the specifications that the Ukrainian government has requested. So I'm going to leave that to you to look at in the next, once you have the guidelines in front of you. As far as funding goes, we have a maximum of $300,000 for one feasibility study, or potentially for a couple of feasibility studies. Applicants, you must provide a clear budget, which we've provided a template in the submission form, which would detail the amount that each consortium member will receive and what the funds would be allocated for. Each participant within the consortium will be sub-granted individually based on the budget provided. So this is our timeline. So the call will be open officially tomorrow, later today, as I said, until the 6th of January. Then we'll have an evaluation from the 9th to the 13th of January. And then we'll turn those final letters and contracts around to you the following week so that you have in the neighborhood of 3 months to complete the feasibility study. And then we will also turn it around quickly, just, kind of a brief review by our experts, and then submit that to the Ukrainian ministry. Don't know why these slides are advancing without me. Moving on. Okay, so who can apply? Funding is available to all organizations from member states of the European Union and from Horizon Europe associate countries. Once you're in the guidelines, you'll be able to access the list of the associate countries. In addition, EIT will perform a risk assessment of the consortia to evaluate political, economic, reputational, and other risks. All submitted proposals will undergo an eligibility check and evaluation to determine their feasibility and suitability for funding. So just an overview of the eligibility. So each organization to be eligible must be legally incorporated in the EU or Horizon eligible country for a minimum of 3 years. You would need 3 years of published accounts and also to provide a PIC number. And that is easily obtainable. We have the link in the guidelines. Your consortium must be composed of an organization with demonstrable engineering project expertise relevant to this challenge and may include research organizations, universities, SMEs, and startups, industrial organizations, consultancies, and corporates. So we're very open broadly. Proposal eligibility, quite simple. You need to complete it on time and upload the mandatory documents. And in English. Okay, so the proposal submission. It's a relatively short proposal and relatively open in the sense that you will be asked for these 6 elements and you'll have some flexibility in terms of how you decide to answer the questions. So the first section is on the eligibility information about the activity leader and consortium members, which I just spoke about, so eligibility, but also additional in number 2, competence and experience of the consortium to address this challenge. The third section is value for money. The 4th is quality of the proposed methodology for the feasibility study. The 5th is alignment to the brief provided, so meaning that list from the Ukrainian Agriculture Ministry, and understanding of the geopolitical and agricultural challenges faced by Ukraine. And finally, there's a budget. So you'll be uploading a budget. We provide the template and you fill it in and then upload. Selection. So we'll be working with 3 external experts in the field, not only in the field of agriculture, but also in the fields of engineering, raw materials, things like that. And the evaluators will evaluate the proposals based on the excellence, impact, and quality and efficiency of the consortium. So here's the following criteria and weighting that will directly be used. And they're reflected in what we ask in the submission form. So 25% is competence and experience of the consortium. 15% is value for money. 25% weighting on quality of the proposed methodology for the feasibility study, and 35% alignment to the brief provided. And the selection, we basically will run the numbers at what the evaluators, how they judge your proposal based on the criteria, and then compile a ranking. And the ranking, all that score above the quality threshold of 3 will be considered for selection until we kind of run out of funds. After selection, we will send each activity leader an email with the results of the evaluation, including comments and instructions regarding contracts to be signed if you've been selected. Participants of the consortia will receive funds in the form of a sub-grant based on eligible costs, and all costs need to comply with Horizon Europe regulations. There'll be also a link to that in the guidelines. EIT Food has also developed a financial sustainability strategy, which is part of our effort to gradually become financially independent from EIT funding. So in the event that your feasibility study is selected by the Ukrainian government and it leads to an implementation, we ask your agreement to involve EIT Food. And that's it, short and sweet. Can I open the floor to some questions? Let's see what's in the chat already. Okay, so.
There was one question in the chat.
The question on the eligibility criteria.
Exactly, it was the question about Ukraine eligibility. Okay. So the entities from Ukraine are eligible because Ukraine is Horizon Associated Countries. That's so right. The answer is yes.
Yes, so just to say it again, a company from Ukraine or an organization from Ukraine can apply. Yes, apply. We welcome you. Yes, and Milda already answered that. Lovely, thank you. Okay, is there?
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Hi, it's Matvey Smirnov from PA Consulting. Hi. Actually, I have two questions, right? Okay. One very practical. I understand that there is a limited budget that EIT Food has. So I'm wondering, is there an expectation of how many participants will be selected at the end?
Do you mean how many feasibility studies?
For feasibility studies, yes.
We have a limited budget. So like I said, I think what would happen is we would rank, once the evaluation occurs, we would rank the proposals exclusively based on the quality of the proposal, including all of the things like value for money. And in the end, with that budget, we have that 300,000 budget. So if we, for example, if we got, I don't know, 6 proposals at 50K each, we're not going to, but we would then be able to we would be able to fund 6. I think the expectation is it will be fewer than that. But right. Yeah, we would just cut it off at the moment where we run out of money. And the highest rank, does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Okay. Thank you.
Okay.
And sorry, I have just one more question.
Please.
Just to check my understanding. So yes. I understand that the expectation is that the solution provided would be end-to-end, right? So there is no expectation that different members of the consortium will bring kind of different parts of the solution to the table.
Actually, Mil, did you have any insight into that? So, I mean, your consortium as a whole, if you're, can you elaborate a little bit more on your question?
So, yeah, if we are looking at that pipeline, for example, as one of the options, right? So I imagine we can have companies who would develop, who are stronger at engineering, for example.
Yeah.
There might be, and again, I'm just thinking out loud that who the members will be, but there might be some companies with more experience in agro. There are some companies, I mean, PA Consulting, we probably do quite a lot of all of it, but we always have that choice. We either do an end-to-end, which we do a lot, or sometimes we go deeper into one of the aspects, right? Like, for example, if that's agro, if that's quality of grains, how it will be stored, etc. So that's what I mean.
Yeah, I think it sounds more like the end-to-end. So bringing together everybody who would be required to ultimately weigh in on the whole thing to get the whole pipeline or transport system done. Yeah. Do you think that's right, Milda? Great. Okay.
Yes, so that's how we imagine that we'll be partners coming within consortium, bringing elements that at the end we have the proposal to be offered to the ministry. Prototype kind of solution built from different elements. No, it's not clear.
Right, but each feasibility study would have to include all the elements. I mean, like the
from the
complete
list.
solution.
Yes. No?
I would say we are very open, that we are really looking for the solution to the problem. And if it's like bringing only 5 elements provided from the ministry, but it will be very valuable and highly scored, it will be selected. I'm sorry
Right.
we cannot precise answer to your question, but the thing is we are looking for this alternative solution for grain transportation. Those are 7 elements that was indicated by ministry. However, they also are in the position that they are very open for the solution.
Right. Okay.
I'm sorry to not being like precise.
No. I think to be honest, it was on the screen for a very short time. Those 7 elements. So I probably need to read it in more details. But by the sound of it, it looks like the expectation is end to end, like the complete solution, at least by the feasibility study phase.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Great. Thank you.
Thanks, Matvey. Anybody else have questions? Yuri.
Thank you. My name is Yuri Valdemar from Savita. I'm a bit confused, to be honest. So what's the expectation from your side? Is it, do you want to get a feasibility study, or do you want to get a prototype or demo of the solution?
The primary deliverable is a feasibility study. We wouldn't turn away a prototype or or demonstration, but the primary thing is the written feasibility study.
And when you talk about prototype or demonstration, like what you have in mind, can you maybe elaborate on this?
Yeah, that's something that's, again, out of my area of expertise. I'm basically running the how-to of the call. Milta, I don't know if you wanted to touch that or get to more of our experts later on.
So I think ministry will provide us the budget, or will provide the money to come up with a prototype, because they would like to have the solution to be ready as soon as possible. So we are on the first stage of feasibility study, and then probably there will be next steps with additional budget for the prototyping. But that's how we would imagine this collaboration.
And how does this works with this financial stability mechanism from EIT Food? Like, do you have any particular expectations of how EIT Food wants to be involved during that next potential stage?
Shall I take this one, Milda? Or would you like to? Okay. Yeah, so it's not, because given that these are feasibility studies, we don't know what's going to come out in the end. I think EIT Food would just like to participate in some way, but we don't have an exact idea of how that will look. And that would be something that once we came more to the contracting phase and potentially beyond, like once you're selected by the Ukrainian government, there would be something written contractually later on, but I think that would be more like once you're funded for your feasibility study, then we would speak more directly.
Thank you.
Kristen, could you maybe repeat that last sentence because you dropped out for a second?
Oh, yeah. The bottom line is, I think that when the time comes, if you're selected for funding for the feasibility study, then we would work with you on a contract. Everybody who gets funded by EIT Food would need to sign a contract. And in that contract, we could more clearly describe the relationship we would expect if your proposal is picked up, or if your feasibility study is ultimately used by the Ukraine. Did I cut out again?
At your last 2 words, I think. But I understood it. Thank you.
So can I ask a question?
Yes, Alena?
Okay, nice to meet you all. But unfortunately, the main part of your presentation was unable for me because the internet connection is unstable. I'm so sorry. The question is, I'm a little bit confused that I thought that this meeting will be about some mathematical modeling for transportation. You know that there are a lot of mathematical models for transportation problems we have, and that's why I thought that this meeting is about mathematical aspects, such problem maybe.
Well, I think I'm sure I'm not an expert at all, but I'm sure that the mathematical expertise could be used by a consortium if it's related to transportation of grain. But that would be where, yeah, a consortium would come together to be finding a solution. And I can, yeah, if you would like, I can share with you the full webinar after the meeting. If you wanted to look through it again, and then I'm happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Does anyone else have a question?
Yeah, sorry, if I may, I just wanted to make it 100% clear. So,
yeah.
When you refer to consortium, right, that's basically the people on this call who might be submitting their proposals for feasibility study, right? Or
yes.
Is that's the selected, because at this moment when we work on our feasibility, on our proposals, we will be working in isolation. We're not connected, correct? So
you actually develop your own consortium. So
okay,
you decide, okay, I'm going to bring together this research person, this organization that does another thing that we need, and then a third, and then together the three of us think that this is how we would go about doing a feasibility study. And then you would answer as, so in the submission form, for example, you, Matvey, as the primary applicant called activity leader, you would fill in your information. And then you would take University of Kharkiv and whoever is going to provide the pipes, and you would include their information. Then there, you guys would write the rest of the answers to the how we would write this feasibility study.
Okay, got it now. Thank you. Yes, because we are a big-ish firm, so we do quite a lot of work end to end, but we might bring some other parties.
Sure, but yes, we're also open to, if you're a big-ish firm, we're also open to your solution. But yeah, always bringing in other people is great.
Yeah, very clear. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? Don't be shy. I don't have all the answers, but we'll be putting a Q&A up on the website. So I'm really happy to hear any questions that you have, and then find the answers when I don't have them. I can only see like 3 people, so. Okay,
quick question. Will there be an opportunity to ask additional questions?
Yeah, sure, definitely.
Yeah.
So I'll show you here. Oh my gosh, why won't this proceed? So after this call is over, as I said, the call will be live this afternoon. You can reach me and Milda and other people who have more technical expertise than us at Ukraine Grain Call at eitfood.eu. Also, when it comes down to anything technical, there's another address, but I don't think this submission is not particularly technically challenging. And then here's the website that you can look at later today. And that will have all the information about the call, the guidelines. It'll have the email address where you can reach us. And so please do put your questions in there. Also, we're going to do another webinar in a couple of weeks. So that will be a chance where we will have hopefully other people coming that have more technical background that can help with your questions. Anybody else? Well,
so I'm sorry. As I understood, we will have another meeting with the technical aspects of
okay, I can't promise. I don't know who exactly will come, but we're hoping that in the next call, we'll be able to get even more people to participate than today. We'll share the same information, but I'm also hoping that we have some more of the people that are more experts in the field that can be of more service in terms of answering your questions about more technical things.
Because I represent academical group, and this, for us it's interesting, like mathematical object, because you know there are a lot of some special objects we can simulate mathematically, and this problem is one of such kind of problems, and that's why it's interesting to know some maybe technical aspects to understand can we involve in such project, or it's a project for economists or some other
Yeah, okay. As I said, I'll make sure that you get the slides so that you can look through, because and also later today this will be up on the website in the form of a like a PDF, the full guidelines, but these are the technical specs coming from the Ukrainian government. Anybody else have a question? All right. Well, thank you so much for joining. You will have the opportunity to go over all of this stuff later today. Just go to eitfood.eu/projects/Ukraine grain call. And also, please do email me and Milda at ukrainegraincall@eitfood.eu. We're very, very enthusiastic about this project, and we would really like to help you do what you do best, which is come up with these types of solutions. All right, well, we'll see. I'll also send an invitation to all of you to the next webinar, which again, will have some of the same information, but maybe we can also already start with your questions and answers that you send me via email that you've asked today. We can add those slides and just try to get you a fuller picture of how to do this submission.